It's episode 100. Hi, everyone. I'm Ed Garston, and welcome to, yes, our 100th episode of Tales from the Beat, where we look at news and PR from both sides of the scrimmage line. So for our century episode, I can go back and do highlights of the best of the last 100 episodes, but I'm not going to do that because I'd rather give you something new and useful and cool. And so our subject is something that working reporters, especially beat reporters, can't really live without, and that is a company's media website. Now, it's a site. It's got press releases, media alerts, images, video, background information, all stuff that somebody would need to do a story. Some are good, many are not good. But, the best, in my opinion anyway, for many, many years, it's what's known today, and has been known for the last couple of years as a Stellantis North America media site. And I'm so happy to have as my guest Courtney Protz-Sanders, who's been the brains behind through four owners with Daimler, Cerberus, Fiat, Stellantis. Now the French people, have more marriages than J-Lo. And you should also know that Courtney and I were colleagues for 11 years, where we did some amazing things on whatever the name company's digital communications team. Courtney, so great to see you. How you been?
So good to see you, Ed. Thank you so much. It's great to see you.
It is same here. Same here. We had some fun for 11 years? Oh my God. I don't think I've done anything for 11 years except that. It'll always be Chrysler to me. I just call it Chrysler. But now how long have you been with the company now in all its many different forms?
It'll be 21 years in the spring.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. When you came on when they were with Daimler? Is that when you came on?
Yes. We were Daimler Chrysler.
Yeah. So a little background, how did you join the company, and how did you really become affiliated with the media site and eventually take charge of it?
Sure. I had finished grad school out in Colorado, was moving back to Michigan. This is where I'm from. This is home base. And looking for a job, fresh out of school. Mm-hmm. And I had just taken a job as a PR manager for a very small company downriver. And I liked it because there was a charity component. They worked with veterans who had been through the war. It was a prosthetic company. When I got a call from an agency and they had seen my resume, Daimler had asked them to hunt down someone who could copy edit as well as manage websites. Okay. Now, again, this is 20 plus years ago. Social media wasn't even in existence yet. Right. Blogs were the new thing. Copy editing it's in my DNA. My father was a journalist. I grew up with time in the newsroom. And so writing and editing was always my passion. Yeah. And so I looked into the job. It really seemed like a good fit. The website part was going to be new to me, but I figured I could pick it up. Mm-hmm. And I started my venture, and I was with an agency at first, contracting with Chrysler. And then I was brought on roll, a few years later.
Yeah, amazing journey. And then, but you've been it for as long as I can remember. And I remember I think the first encounter I really had with the Daimler media site was way back in my days with CNN, which, to give you an idea of my days with CNN, ended in January of 2001. That's how many years ago. And I remember the Daimler media site as it was. I'm sure the one that it was a little, I'll say, involved. It was a little
clunky.
A little funky and not quite as intuitive. But then, let's see, I came to the company in 2005. Things started happening after that. So why don't you talk about just how it evolved from what it was in the Daimler world to sort of the North American site now that became and is really, to me, the gold standard of media sites.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so our Daimler Chrysler media site was a behemoth. It was global, so it was everybody in the company, all the brands, all the products, and it involved a lot of steps and processes to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. So when we knew that it looked like there was going to be a split, We talked about we've really got to have our own media site. We've got to start working on it right now. So we devoted about a solid year of working with the media to find out what they want, and then working with the developers to make that happen. We launched it as our standalone North America media site, and we've just enhanced it and developed it more and more over time. But yeah, it's been well received. You know, the Motor Press Guild does surveys, and we've gotten the #1 spot for many years in a row. So we're very proud of it. And it comes down to the basics of PR. Who's your audience? What do they want? And how do you deliver it to them? And we've never strayed away from that, you know, core value, core mission for the site.
You know, and that's, I love the part where you said you talked to journalists. And I remember we did survey too, even while I was there. So many companies don't ask journalists what they want in a media site. They just go, here you go, take what you need if you can find it. And that's the hardest part for me. I'm still a working journalist, even though I'm semi-retired. And I go on so many of these media sites, and I just need a basic picture of just a vehicle or something, and I cannot find it. And it's a real treasure hunt. I don't have time for that. So what did you hear, Courtney, from journalists about what they wanted, specifics of what they wanted in a site, and then how did you put that into action?
Yeah, I mean, you just nailed it. They want quick, easy to find, efficient, don't make me dig around. You know, if you're going to do a story on, let's say, Dodge Charger, don't put the press release over here, and then over here, I've got to go find the images, and then over here, maybe there's video, don't know. Package it. Give them the entire story in one place. Don't make them go hunt for it. You know, and if it's a story about maybe it's the 1 millionth product coming off the line at a plant, you know, all of our plants have fact sheets that give the basics, you know, where they are, how many employees, what they make. Put that in their package. They may not need it, but if they do, it's right there. So I want to save them time. I want to give them what they want, and I want to give it to them all together. No hunting.
Yeah, I mean, when I'll backtrack a little bit. We're talking about this sort of offline a little bit, but what's the sort of the one or two things that have evolved over the years that reporters now are asking for that maybe they didn't ask for perhaps when the technology wasn't conducive to it?
Video. The world revolves around video, whether it's just running footage, B-roll with some natural sound, whether it's an interview with an executive, a product walk around. You can never give them enough video. So we've learned that over time, and we strive to reach that goal. Photography has always been very, very popular, but resolutions have changed over time. Formats have changed over time. And I think that's a big component of it. It's not just knowing what the media want and keeping up with that. It's the technology side. So when we first developed our media site, blogs were the new thing. Social media didn't exist yet. And as time went on, social media blew up. We needed to figure out how to incorporate that. We needed to keep our finger on blogs and how popular those were, and was it worth continuing to incorporate that into our site. So it's listening to your audience and trying to deliver what they want, as well as keeping up with all of the technology, which moves very quick. But to your question, definitely video.
Definitely. You know, I think people don't know this, but you'll remember this well, but I think we're still with Daimler when the media site became really the first auto media site to allow reporters to directly download video rather than going through a third-party procurement service.
I forgot all about that. You're exactly right. Automotive media sites at the time had to use a third-party agency because video was so huge and it took up so much space. And so, once we approved them as a journalist, they'd have to go to an entirely different place and download the video. Wow, I'd forgotten about that. You're right. We are the first that did that.
If you remember, there was there was a vehicle introduction at the Frankfurt Auto Show or something like that. And to get the video to the journalists, the video had to be fed to the company in London. And then the London you had to put in a request through the media site for the video. And then
Wow.
maybe if you were lucky, 4 hours later, they would send the reporter a link so that they could download the video.
Yeah.
And,
wow, how times have changed. Yes, that is the throwback. And other place we were the first, and I give you full credit, was like we mentioned blogs.
Yeah.
We were the first to have a blog geared toward journalists.
Yes.
You know, when blogs came out, it was just kind of this open format where the storyteller could talk to their readers and they could have a conversation. And you pitched having a journalist-only blog. We were lucky at the time. We had a very charismatic senior vice president of communications, so it was the right voice for the opportunity. But we were the first ones to venture into that space too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a guess. I mean, I was hired from the Detroit News to run his blog, and people in the audio industry know Jason Vines, who was a legend in automotive PR. And he wanted to have a blog to be able to talk directly to reporters, and also he wanted the blog to tell them when their stories were crap. But we also planted stories, and I think the big one was we took on big oil, and
that was the big one,
and took a shot at them, and that was the first proof that social media. This is 2005 or 6. I mean, it seems arcane now, but that the very next day we got 2,300 press mentions from that blog post, and it was a front page lead story on the Detroit News. So that was a testament that we should keep going. And that site kept going till Fiat, where the culture of the company changed. Voice wasn't there.
Yeah.
But why, on a sort of a granular level, why is a good media site, a functional media site, so important for a company to be able to effectively get its message out and get to the reporters they need to be the conduit to get those messages out to the public?
Yeah, and I think it's true even more today than it was that 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we used to have our own beat reporter. There was this reporter covered GM, and this reporter covered Ford, and this reporter covered Daimler Chrysler. Yeah. And that is not even close to true today. Journalists have to do so much more than they did before. And so you'll have a journalist who's they have to, shoot their own interview. They've got to get social done. They've got to get some photography over to their photo desk. They've got to write their story. So it's not just, there aren't as many anymore. So their time is even more crunched and more condensed than ever. So it becomes even more important to deliver them what they need quickly. And we know that about half of our media audience uses search to find what they want, and the other half navigates to it. So both of those functions on a media site are equally important. And we've actually just very recently started playing with our search tool and trying to improve it and added filtering and categories, and it's in its infant stage. So we have a lot of work to do to refine it and make it better, but we're doing that because the journalists said they want it, that they need it. So we're going to answer that call. So I think from the journalist perspective, they have even less time than they did before, and their duties are even more than they were before. From the PR side, it allows us to get our message out in the order that we want. So if we've got right now we're around the auto show season, and so we'll have products coming out, and we really want to put focus on those. Yeah. So we will package those at the top of the site. We'll have a version for our Canadian journalists. We'll have a version in Spanish for our Hispanic audience. Incredible. And we'll get it all out at the same time, and we'll put it right in their face where we know they'll see it, and we'll have all of the creative assets right along with it so that they don't have to go any further than opening the site, and that story is right in front of them.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I don't know if you hear from journalists how much they appreciate that. Because, we're takers. We're takers. We just want stuff,
Gimme.
Don't often just say thank you. But it means so much. I mean, I was going crazy. Literally the other day, I just needed a picture of a truck, another automaker. I'm not going to say who it was. It took me half an hour to find. It was a current model, not a past model, but a current model of a certain truck. It took me half an hour to navigate through the system, and then another story, I needed a Ram truck, and I found it like instantaneously. I mean,
Well,
that's a
that makes
difference.
me happy to hear.
That's a
Good.
difference. So thank you. But since I know you, I know it'd be right. It'd be great. But I mean, where do you see? I mean, do you see any other new developments in media sites? I don't want to give away trade secrets, but is this something that you think about and you go, all right, well, this is great. We're doing a great job now, but what could we do even better?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of benchmarking, so we keep an eye on what everybody else is doing. We talk to our technology partners about what's new, what's next, and they've never been wrong. Oh gosh, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe a decade, and we had asked them, what do you guys see, what's coming next? And they told us companies are going to develop their own little mobile, like an app, and everybody's going to have these on their phones, and you'll download their app just for one company. And we went, really? Companies are going to, and man, if they didn't nail that, we live and die by apps. So we talk to them frequently, let us know what's coming. The benchmarking is important. And then surveys, talking directly to the journalists. If we're at an auto show, we'll talk to them one-on-one if they've got some downtime. Yeah. But just this past summer, we did a proactive survey to our main journalists who tend to cover our events and products and corporate side, business side. And we just asked them, how are we doing? Are we giving you what you want? Yeah. And we even went into some of our content. Do we give you enough of photos? Do we give you enough video? Do we give our press releases too much, not enough? Sure. And surveys, people get surveys all the time. And even when you're offered an incentive, like, hey, answer the survey, you'll get a free gift card. Industry average is about a 10% response rate. And I was super excited. We had a 15% response rate on our survey. And that told me, okay, this 15% has something to say. And there were a lot of compliments in there, and I really did appreciate that. And then a lot of direction centered a lot around video, as well as historic stuff that they want to see more heritage, a lot more comparisons, be it pricing, previous model years, what's new, that kind of stuff. So that was all really helpful information, and we're going to work on making sure we're delivering that.
Incredible. I mean, but you've been keeping it up now for, 21 years and keeping the quality up through 4 ownerships, basically. And
plus bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy was interesting. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
A whole series of podcasts on bankruptcy. But okay, so let's switch gears totally here in the time that we have left. Folks, you don't know this, or you might if you know Courtney, that she's also involved in something totally unrelated to media websites, but saving pets' lives through a pet rescue. And this is great to take this opportunity to get the word out about really the wonderful work you've been doing for so many years. But talk about it's Pets for Life. That's called. Did I get the title right?
You're so close. Paws for Life.
Oh, Paws for Life. Okay. Well, pets have paws. So okay. The transitive law of rescue titles. So, but yeah, tell folks about that and what you do and really how they could help.
Sure. This is my sweet spot. So I've been in animal welfare, I would say, my entire life, rescuing dogs and cats. And then I went into it professionally while I was in grad school. I started working at a shelter. And then when I moved back to Michigan, I couldn't find the right fit. I wasn't finding an organization that really kind of matched what I wanted to do. So I started my own. And with a group of other like-minded folks, we started Paws for Life almost 20 years ago. And we're nonprofit. We're volunteer run. We don't have any paid staff. Wow. And our goal was to partner with shelters. So shelters only have so much space. And when they're full, lives are ended. And so we wanted to prevent that. So we wanted to take the animals who had been there the longest. Over time, that developed into the animals with the most severe medical issues. So that caused us to focus more on fundraising and veterinary partnerships. And so we've saved, I don't know, easily 10,000 dogs, cats, puppies, and kittens over time. As it's been a struggle lately, COVID was a big hit for everybody, but it definitely affected the nonprofit world. And then when we came out of COVID, a lot of the national companies, the funding support ended their programs. So like Facebook ended their nonprofit program, Amazon did as well. And those were very big hits for smaller nonprofits like Pause for Life. So we had to shift gears and adapt and find other ways to make a big impact given less funding out there. And there's a lot of us vying for it. So I'm now also on the board of directors for Michigan Pet Alliance.
Oh.
And Michigan Pet Alliance is a big picture nonprofit. So we're statewide.
Okay.
And this is the association for pet owners. So plumbers have an association, homeowners have an association. Yeah. This one is for pet owners and pet professionals. And it allows us to provide education and training. Wow. And it allows us to work with our legislators in Lansing to pass more laws that protect pets and improve their quality of care. So I now kind of have a foot in both worlds. Wow. I'm focusing a lot because Michigan Pet Alliance is going to affect hundreds of thousands, yes. Whereas Pause for Life affects one at a time. But I'm very passionate about both. In terms of how people can help,
yes,
volunteering is great, but not all of us have that kind of time. If you do, especially over holiday breaks, contact your local shelter and see how you can help. It could be as simple as taking a dog for a walk. It could be you and your kids sitting outside of a cage or sitting in a room with an animal and reading them a book.
Yes.
It could be simply scooping some litter boxes and changing out food and water, but there's always a role you can play. And if you don't have time, always consider adopting. Yes. Find your next family member at your local shelter or rescue. And if that's not an option, donate. And every penny makes a difference. Even if it's $5 around Christmas, that goes a long way.
It's just such wonderful work that you've been doing for so long, and really saving pets' lives, making their lives better. I remember that we webcast for you a demonstration years ago at the state capitol about breed-specific legislation.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that still an issue? Is that still something?
We are still fighting for it. Yeah, in 2015, I think that sounds right. We launched the Make Michigan Next campaign to end breed discrimination in the state of Michigan. And we got really far. We almost made it all the way through, but that very last vote we needed just was never called for a vote. So it's not even like we lost the vote. We just couldn't even get the bill called for a vote. So we're not giving up. We're going to continue to do this. It's called Make Michigan Next because many, many other states have already done this. And I actually just got a call last week from a family who lives in Waterford and is in a dispute with their neighbor over gardening. But that neighbor has decided their dog is a pit bull, and they called to report them. And they now have 8 days to prove that their dog isn't, which is completely opposite of innocent until proven guilty. But they're going to put this family through this process where they're going to have to hire an attorney and they're going to have to get notarized vet paper. So anyway, Make Michigan Next will put an end to that. No more of that. If a dog has bad behavior, we address the bad behavior, but we don't punish dogs simply because they look a certain way and haven't done anything wrong. But yes, you guys supported that. You did the live broadcasting and video. That was a great campaign. That was really successful in terms of public awareness, even if we didn't get our final vote.
Sure. Yeah, great work. All right, Courtney Protz-Sanders, making lives better for both reporters and pets for over 2 decades. So great to see you. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Great messages on both subjects. And we'll put the link to Pause for Life on our description if that's helpful to you and the other organizations you mentioned. But thanks so much for being here. Great to see you again, and all really great work you do all around. So thanks a lot for being with us, especially on our 100th episode. And I can't think of anyone more special that I'd want on a special episode of the podcast. So folks, that's Tales from the Beat for this time. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Ed Garston, and I'll be back soon with more tales. Take care.